I know there's a Packer game on in like an hour. So, I mean, you can stream this and have the game on at the same time. I mean, like, you definitely have a computer and a TV. So, it shouldn't be a problem. Plus, I'm making a Swiss roll today, which has been often requested by my father-in-law. I made it once for Christmas like 2 years ago. And it doesn't require a lot of ingredients, but it makes a huge mess. Like I already have a bunch of stuff out. Like I have 2 pots because I need to melt chocolate. I need to make a caramel, and then I bake it, and then I need to whip egg whites for the filling. So literally like everything's going to get dirty. But it's naturally gluten-free because eggs are the base of it. So I'm just gonna get started because I have to make the caramel first. It's not really gonna be a full caramel, it's a light syrup. And the recipe I'm following is from Jacques Pepin, not pronounced correctly because I'm American and his name is French, so. Anyways, he has like obviously a ton of awesome cookbooks, but his dessert section is probably like a quarter of the cookbook I have. So there's a lot of good stuff in here. So I need to get sugar and water in a saucepan. Half a cup of sugar and a quarter cup of water. I think the Packers will win today, but I don't want to curse them. So I don't know if you guys have made caramel before, but basically the important thing is to make sure the sugar gets wet and then to not touch it after that. Otherwise you won't make a caramel. I mean, this is technically just a light syrup, so I'm sure even if you're stirring it, it won't be that big of a deal. The only thing I do is I like swirl the pan when I'm making the caramel. And also like don't walk away from it because if you do, then it will burn always. It does take a long time to get going, but then once it goes, I feel like it turns pretty fast. And I'm just looking for a light syrup. You're making caramel with or without water? I am making it with water, but it's just a little bit of water. I think technically you don't need water, but in terms of keeping it from burning or scorching, I think water makes it a little easier. Like I've never had any problems. And different recipes call for different amounts of water. Like this is only using a quarter cup of water for a half cup of salt or sugar. Salt would not make caramel. It says to only let it cook for 2 minutes, but I feel like the timing that recipes always say for caramels are really inaccurate. The thing about caramel is even once you take it off, it's gonna keep cooking because it's so hot. Okay, let me show you guys the caramel. I wanna get a stove cam someday. So it's not a caramel, it's light syrup. You can see it's like a little golden. So I need 6 eggs. Separated, so I guess I should get another bowl. I told you this recipe is like not that many ingredients, but everything's gonna get dirty. So an interesting thing is I was reading in the Pepin cookbook that he says to use organic eggs for doing any type of like whisking, make like peaks or whatever. Because it has more, I'm not on the right page, but it has more of something in it to make it stiffer. And then also he says if you are doing less than like 6 eggs or something, to do it by hand and to use a copper bowl because the copper interacts with the eggs. I don't know, but I didn't know that the type of egg or the bowl mattered. Oh, I also have to melt chocolate. I will do that now. I need 6 ounces of chocolate. And I guess I could, microwave the chocolate, but I just feel like it's easier just to do it to make a double boiler, right? Is that what it's called? Is it broiler or boiler? I don't know. Just fill a pot with water, and then put a metal bowl on top, and then put the chocolate in. And that way it won't burn like you'd have to worry about in the microwave. So I have espresso powder, which is a specialty ingredient, but like I've never used it for anything. I usually just brew coffee. But I'm lazy, so I'm just gonna mix, because I just need 2 tablespoons very strong coffee. So I'm just gonna use the instant espresso, like if you're making tiramisu or whatever, you would use this. So it's 1 tablespoon powder, 4 tablespoons hot water. Chin Bunny says, I was just saying I recently read why recipes often call for room temp eggs because the yolks and whites will better mix together, homogenize. Oh yeah, that is true. I had seen that. I need to find the page where Jock talks about all this. It's somewhere in here. I mean, it's like a 900-page cookbook, but I think he does say that as well. But my eggs were not room temperature. Maybe by the time I actually get in the stand mixer, it will be room temperature though. Oh. Okay, 4 tablespoons hot water. I'm sure this is hot enough. I can show you some chocolate. So, it looks pretty good. So I guess the thing about this recipe is I'm mixing all this hot stuff in with the eggs, and obviously I don't want it to curdle, or I don't want scrambled eggs out of this. Okay, so now I pour the sugar syrup over the yolks for 5 minutes till fluffy pale yellow. And then I add the chocolate and coffee. So this is what it looks like. Till fluffy, smooth, and pale. I need 2 tablespoons of the coffee. I'm gonna pour this into here now. Okay, so now I just whip the egg whites in the stand mixer, so that'll probably take a few minutes. I think the thing about egg whites is you're not supposed to over whip them. Okay, so Jock always has really interesting ways to like grease things. He said to put butter on the parchment and then put flour on it. So I think I'm going to try that and see how it goes. I don't remember if I did that last time. Okay, these are like pretty stiff actually. And this is definitely forming peaks. Hopefully it's not over whipped. I always err on the side of less mixing and less touching for once the egg whites are whipped. I probably over whipped these a little bit, though. Maybe it'll make up for my batter potentially not being thick enough. So I think I'm not going to do this at 375 because it is just going to be, I think, a pretty thin layer. And so I don't want it to overcook. And now I'm going to butter and flour this. Okay, now I need to put the egg whites in here. Okay, I'll call that a third. Okay, this smells amazing. Mostly because it smells like chocolate, but now I'm starting to remember why I didn't make this recipe for like 2 years. Do you see how many things I've like gotten dirty already? And I haven't even made the filling yet. That's the thing. Okay, so now I have to fold the rest of the egg whites in. So basically I'm just going to mix this just to make like sure there's no white egg whites left. I mean, this looks disgusting, not gonna lie. Okay, so this is only supposed to bake for 12 minutes, but who knows how long it's actually going to take because I reduced the temperature. I mean, the filling, to be fair, is pretty easy. So it's just heavy whipping cream, confectioner's sugar, vanilla, and Kirsch. but I don't know what that is. It's some type of alcohol, and I'm not going to add it because I don't have that, so. Okay, I think I'm ready for round 3. And 1.5 cups heavy cream. I should probably watch my roll. Basically, okay, this is like the most critical part of the recipe actually, is baking this thing, because if it's overbaked, it's not going to roll and it's just gonna crack. And obviously it will still taste good, but it's definitely not going to be as pretty. It's pretty puffy right now. It's probably grown, it's probably like double or tripled its size. Although no matter who wins, I am doing a Super Bowl snack prep. February 4th or 5th. I think the Friday before the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna do a caramelized onion dip, and then I'm going to do, okay, I'm doing it the 5th. And then I'm going to do cheese stuffed tomatoes, and now I'm trying to think of one last thing that's dairy free, just because the onion dip is like sour cream and cream cheese and stuff with caramelized onions. And then obviously it's cheese and tomatoes. But something not with dairy would be good, but I haven't been able to find anything. Okay, so I need to start whipping the cream until soft peaks form. I definitely remember this being darker last time. There you go. It's already starting to deflate. It's sort of like a souffle. Maybe I will put in a little longer. I think this is actually done now. You can see my holes I made in it. Thankfully, nobody will see that. It'll all be rolled up. So now I'm supposed to let this cool, and then I put plastic wrap on it, and the plastic wrap is to basically keep it from drying out so that I can roll it. I'm still expecting the inner seam to crack, but I mean, who cares? As long as it ends up in like a roll-ish shape and the filling doesn't all come out, I mean, that's the most important part for me. Let me show you. I might whip it a little more actually. So, I mean, it's not really holding a peak. It's sort of like collapsing a little bit. So I'm gonna whip it a little longer. Now I need 2 tablespoons confectioner sugar. So there's actually not a ton of sugar in this recipe. There's the 1/2 cup in the beginning, and then there's only 2 more tablespoons for the filling, and that's it. I don't think that's very much compared to the madeleines I made. Okay, so I need to add 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I don't know how everybody does their vanilla, but I have this like perpetual vanilla where you can buy it with the vanilla beans. It's literally just vanilla beans and vodka, and that's how you make vanilla. And we just occasionally buy new vanilla beans. So I'm gonna remove this from the pan and put it on the cutting board, because I know when I roll it, I'm not gonna wanna roll it in the pan. But I definitely need to let this cool. It's pretty soft still. Get it out of here. There. Whee! Easy, I didn't even need this. Okay, this is really yummy. Based on my edge sample. Actually, I can taste the coffee in this. Like in the roll by itself, I can taste it. I put it on the patio. So I think because it's windy too, it will cool down pretty quickly. So I'm only gonna leave it out there for a few minutes, and then it should be fine. And then we can roll it up, and then I can slice it, and then you can look at it and be like, wow, now I'm extra hungry. Okay, so now I'm gonna put the cream on. I'm gonna roll away from me. So I'll put cream here, but I don't wanna put a ton because it's just gonna like push it. And then it's all gonna spill out the other side. And actually I like this smaller pan. Last time I used a bigger pan, and so my edges obviously weren't like perfect, but because this pan was smaller, it, butted up against the edge. And I have this perfect edge. Also, the butter and flour worked really well. Like, this is not sticking at all. Maybe I put too much cream in. I put a ton of cream in, not gonna lie. There's like, it's mostly like a hole. Like, there's just cream in the center. Oh my god. So I think the only thing is the butter made it a little greasy. I mean, I put a lot of butter. I mean, you can see on the cutting board how greasy it is. Barely a roll. Barely qualifies. There's a little bit of a roll, but also a lot of cream, which I think is important. And it's cooked through, and it looks super soft and delicate and not dry. So I think this might be a better roll than the one I made for Christmas in terms of like what a Swiss roll is. But I think I prefer to cook it at 350 instead of the 375, and then cook it for a little longer. Let's see. But I feel like texturally it might be too soft for some people. Like, the whole thing is pretty soft. Like, have you ever had a souffle, anybody? You basically don't need teeth to eat this. It can just like melt in your mouth. And this is basically my lunch now. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a lot about Swiss rolls and how many dishes they create.